Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Beauty Connective podcast, where beauty professionals all over the industry are coming together to grow, connect, and get really real about what it's like mixing business with beauty. This episode is brought to you by the Beauty Connective, a brand new beauty directory and search engine created by beauty professionals for beauty professionals that makes it easier than ever for clients in your local area to filter by location, pricing, availability, and read reviews to find you without you having to be on the social media grind. Today I have with me Tess Gilliland, a brow educator and owner of Lala Brow Lounge, who is also opening up a brow and lash school. So excited that you're here today.
Happy to be here. I'm stoked.
Thanks for being here. I'm excited to hear your story because I know that you have sort of a diverse background, like you've been everywhere. So tell me how you got started and like kind of how you landed where you are now.
Yeah, so I actually started out in hair back in 2016. I did in high school. It's kind of like Utah's MTech, but in Arizona. It's called EVIT. And you can do part-time trade, part-time high school. And so I actually moved out of my house. I moved towns to do EVIT. And like 2 weeks into hair, I was like, wow, I actually hate this. Like, I wish that I liked it more than I did. But I decided to get my license anyways, just because it's so cheap through EVIT. I think you have to pay for your kit and like your test, and that's it. So I'm like, might as well do that instead of, paying $25,000 for a hair license or whatever. But so I did that, got my license, and immediately after I decided to do lash extensions just because it felt like it was something easy that I could do out of my house if I wanted to. And so I did that for like probably 9 months, did lash extensions, and then served a church mission. And then when I got home from my mission, I actually deep dove. Is that the right word? Dived?
Did a deep dive? Yeah.
Deep doving into life coaching. So I was like a major life coach geek. And for those of you who don't know what life coaching is, it's kind of like therapy, but it's basically like forward thinking. It's slowing down like what's going on in your brain, how that's affecting your emotions, and then how your emotions are affecting your actions, and then therefore how you show up in the world. So it's like a lot of accountability. It's a lot of basically like, what am I producing and what am I accountable for, and how can I create the results that I want in my life? And so for a couple years, that's actually what I wanted to do full time. And I was wanting to go to school for it, but life coaching school was like where I wanted to go was expensive. It was stupid expensive. It was like a 4-year college degree. And I didn't have the money for it. I just gotten home from a mission, so I was broke. So I actually got in the door-to-door sales industry. So I knocked solar doors for a couple years and was a solar closer, and I actually really loved it. If you've ever met a door-to-door salesman, I don't think there's a lot of people who are like, this is my favorite thing ever. And I can't say that it was.
I can imagine.
It's like, I still say it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I think it taught me more about business and about what I'm capable of than any other job I'd ever done. And I think just when you're in a house for 4 hours trying to basically like relationship your way and sell your way into closing someone on a 25-year agreement, sometimes taking out a loan, like there's just so much you have to maneuver there. And so I feel like those skills really set me up just for going into starting my own business. So yeah, then I stopped doing solar because I got married and I was like, I can't keep going out for the summer. I'm tired of it. So I got married, and I was just trying to figure out like what I wanted to do, because life coaching didn't feel right in the moment, and there wasn't really a reason for it. It was just simply, I was like, I just don't feel like it's the right time, even though I still love it. And so I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll just start doing lashes again. Like, I had a clientele kind of before. It was before I'd ever like really tried to make it into anything. And so I was doing lash extensions or lash lifts, or I was actually hadn't even started again, but I was like prepping to do this again. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to like full send it. Like, I think I could make more doing this than like going and working a 9 to 5. And so I ordered some lash lift product, and they had just like a brow lamination kit basically that they sent me just to try. And I was like, sick, let's just try this and maybe I can add it to my service menu. So it was like very much an afterthought. And then I tried it on myself, and I was like, this is way more fun than lashes for me. And so literally like from that point on, that moment, I was like, sick, I'm going to be the brow girl. And I just dove in from there. So that was really long-winded, but that's kind of my story.
That's awesome. I always love hearing about people who have been going in so many different directions and then pivot. Because I think I always had this idea in my mind in high school or wherever, like, once I graduate high school, I'll just know what I'm going to do. And then I'll just do that thing forever. And it's never like that. Almost ever. No. Everyone is where they landed because they were 100 different places before that. But that also brings you so many like additional skills. Like you talked about, like door-to-door sales. I cannot imagine, but also the business sense and like the communication and just like people industry skills that brings you is probably huge for your business now.
Totally. I 100% agree. I think it's more important. It's just as important to know what you don't want to do as it is to know what you do want to do, because I think it just brings you so much value and it's so much learning rather than just being like, I'm going to do this thing for the rest of my life, you know? Yeah.
And by the way, I think you're actually the first like specifically brow and lash like expert that we've had on the podcast, which is exciting.
Huzzah.
Represent. I love this. So tell me a little bit about what it looked like from you like doing lashes and starting brows to opening up your studio now.
I think I had one client, literally one client to my name. And one of my friends, she had messaged me and was like, hey, there's an opening for a room rental at this esthetician spa in Linden. And she was like, do you want to come room rent there? And I think rent was like $1,000. Actually, it was. I can remember. It was $1,000. And I had literally one client to my name. And I just told my husband, I was like, you know what? I think this would be really good for me. Like, even though it's just room rent, like being associated with that brand could just like position me basically as a better brow artist than I probably am. And so I was like, I know it's like an investment and we might be just breaking even for the first couple months, but like, I think we should just do it. I think I should shoot my shot. So I worked there for about 6 or 7 months and then did one more summer of sales. That time I sold TV. And then I actually moved my studio to home. I had some kind of crazy like pregnancy things that led me to just working from home and not having like a room rent over my head. And so I worked from home for about 8 months or something like that. And I feel like within that time, just getting, I guess, like a little bit more freedom and not have to worry so much about like finances, because room rent is such a big ordeal. Like, it's just expensive. And with the cost of product on top of that or whatever, like it can be a stressful thing. But I feel like I was able to just really lock in my services. And I feel like I never do anything like halfway. I'm always like all in or all out. Unfortunately, I'm kind of learning the happy medium right now. But so I always knew like I wanted to do something bigger with this. It was never just like, I'm just going to do a side gig. Like, that literally doesn't exist in my body. So I always knew I wanted to open up like a bigger space, but I actually wanted to do more continued education. And then I ended up hiring out brow artists, honestly, just kind of on a whim. I just kind of had to like sit down and figure out kind of where I wanted to go. And part of hiring was actually to help me to become a better educator. Because I just thought, like, if I can help these girls succeed within my business and kind of help them be little entrepreneurs, like, that is going to set me up as a better educator than just like going in and educating. So it was kind of strategic, I feel like, but also needed in my business at that point. And so I kind of shot my shot and just got a place. And I don't feel like I had all the credibility, nor did I have like, I mean, I had a lot of clients. I was overbooked, but even at that point, I don't feel like it was any reason to go like hire 5 artists. And for me, in my head, I feel like that's just part of being an entrepreneur. You kind of just got to like jump ahead of the game. So that's kind of what led me to the lounge.
That's so true. That is such a true statement that you just said. It's like, in order to be successful, you really do. And that's such a running theme with entrepreneurs, beauty entrepreneurs. It's like, they just go and do it. Mm-hmm. Like, don't really think twice, sort of. Like, just really got to like take the leap. Dumb.
No, you gotta just not think about it. Deal with it later.
Yeah. And how long have you had your lounge open now?
It's been a year. Almost. Cool. It'll be a year in May. So we're coming up.
Congrats.
Thanks.
That's huge.
Yeah,
what awesome. Have you learned kind of in the last year of running your,
your
lounge?
So much. I've learned so much. I think one thing that I've learned is it's really exciting to launch a business. Like, it's really exciting. You feel like you have so much control. And that's why it's so much fun, I feel like. But the real work comes when you have to show up when it's hard and when it's not fun anymore. And kind of when like the excitement wears off and it's like, okay, how can I keep showing up and managing my brain in a way that's going to keep producing results instead of just seeking for more like, I don't know, you know, like that, almost like that dopamine hit of like, let's go do a branding shoot. Like those are so much fun, but it's like 6 months in and it's like a branding shoot isn't going to fix all my problems, you know? So I think just learning how to show up when it's hard. And then, I just think I've learned so much about myself. I've just learned that I actually know nothing ever. I think I know something and I don't. And there's so much growth to be had when you step back and actually be like, I know nothing. Like, it's really important to do that instead of just acting like you know everything. And I think people appreciate it when you come from that place of vulnerability. Like, hey, I don't know everything. And especially hiring out, like, I feel like I was good at what I did, but actually teaching someone else to do that and, you know, giving them the spotlight instead of trying to take the spotlight or, you know, trying not to act like I know everything, even though I'm a boss, and just really being open with my girls and just trying to be really humble when it comes to like, okay, I still have so much to grow and I have so much space to grow and so much to learn. And yeah, that's kind of all I'm trying to say, but
I think that goes to show a lot about who you are as a person and how you show up for like the people that are working for you and your workspace, which is incredible because it's so true. Like you said, people really respect when people are willing to admit that they don't know every single thing. And it's much more of like a collaborative environment, I feel like.
Totally.
When they know you're figuring it out, they're there, they want to help you figure it out. That's awesome. I love how like intentional you are about like leading a group of people.
It's very important to me. People are important to me. So that's kind of why that's the way I'm able to mesh my drive to be a life coach and like the beauty industry that I didn't expect to be in is like, how can I just care about people and help them thrive and just help them be the versions of themselves that they want to be. And if I'm going to do that, my girls have to be able to come up to me and say, hey, I think you need to fix this. And I need to be able to take that if I'm going to be giving them feedback or coaching or whatever. So I'm still not great at that, but it's just like a constant cycle of just growth and learning and humility. And yeah, it hurts.
Oh my gosh, I relate to that a lot. It is like a painful experience to be constantly reevaluating and relearning and re-implementing new things to be better. It's running a business is not for the weak.
No, not at all. I'm like, it's not just like fun. You think it is, and then it's like, okay, well, maybe not as fun as I thought.
It's so true. It's like you have this great idea, you want to do this thing, you have all this drive and motivation, and you start doing it, you're like, wait a second.
Yeah. Yep, totally.
What are some things that you tell the girls that work for you as far as coaching them in their businesses? Like, what are some of the important things that you pass on to them?
Good question. I could talk about this forever. I guess the things that we tackle first is your world is your brain. So when they're first starting out, and in my, not only with my lounge girls, but the trainings that I take monthly, we do like a 2-on-1, basically like brow intensive of like how to kind of kickstart your technique, your business, all these things. And that's actually something we go over. Like, we'll do technique, obviously, because that's important. You got to know what you're doing as far as like brow technique goes. But a lot of our work is like, okay, how do you create the business and the space with your brain? Because like I said, your world is your brain, and what you're thinking in here is going to manifest physically in your life. And so it's amazing when we start like diving into the thought processes, mostly these like 18, 19-year-old girls, of like what's actually holding them back and kind of rules that they've set up for themselves that actually really don't exist, you know? Like, they can actually do whatever they want, but it's like, okay, what are the thoughts that you're telling yourself? And we don't always try to replace those with like positive thoughts, meaning like you can't go from like, I suck at brows to just then thinking I am the best brow artist in the entire world. It's like, you kind of got to meet yourself where you're at. And I don't know, just like actually kind of taking a glimpse and being a mirror for what's already in their brain, because most of the time that's holding them back way more than like learning a new technique or like perfecting a technique, if that makes sense. So it's kind of teaching them to like choose confidence and to choose forward progression instead of waiting for like outward validation for it. And I think that is such an important framework that I think a lot of young girls, especially who go into the beauty industry, because all of them are probably getting set up to be entrepreneurs. Like when you go to licensing school or when you go to, you know, esthetician school, nail school, or whatever, like you are kind of going into it being like, yeah, I'm going to go start my own business unless you can get hired at a med spa or whatever. And I just think that's something that's very much lacking in our education system, is like, we don't know, these girls aren't being taught how to actually sustain their brain and their mindset in the way that an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, needs to be tackling that every single day in order to sustain a business. So I feel like when I first hire girls or when I train them, that's kind of something that we tackle head on first. And that's like a lifelong process. It's not like we can like fix all of our mental issues in one session, but like just kind of teaching them how to reframe the way that they view what they're doing. And then kind of like then perfecting the technique. So.
And what you said about, you know, the education system lacking the business perspective. And you kind of mentioned like we go into the beauty industry thinking like we'll have to be entrepreneurs, which I never realized that.
Right.
Like, that was something that I was like.
And that's why so many, like, respectfully, that's why so many people stop doing it, because they're like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to get clients. Like, anyways, continue. Sorry.
Totally. It's like you have to have both the technique and the skill and be good at what you're doing, but then also have the business side of it too, which I think so many of us, myself included, just had no idea that was going to be like part of my life.
Totally.
And I love that side of it. Like I love the business side of it and have just really learned so much and learned to love the business side of things. But going back to the mindset and what you're helping your artists kind of achieve mentally in order to move forward as an entrepreneur, what are some of the main things you notice happening mentally that are holding them back?
I think this is probably Utah specific. There might be other places like Arizona or that may not have such a big issue, but competition is heavy here. Like there is a brow artist within a 1 mile radius. There's probably like 12. It's just crazy. Same with nails. Like they're everywhere. And so I think that's something that we have to tackle first, is like just comparison. And, you know, with the world being so in your face online, like we're not supposed to know what's going on in everyone else's business. And we are, because, you know, as you show up as a, you know, beauty expert online, you kind of got to be an influencer and you're trying to be vulnerable and you're trying to share parts of your life. And I think that's hard when you're first starting to start a business. And so I think that's what we tackle, is like, one, why is competition healthy? What does it push you to do? Pushes us to be the best version of ourselves, right? Like there's a reason that people get really good at what they do in places like Utah. It's because they got to stand out somehow, right? So like kind of reframing that. And then also I think just like positioning themselves as an expert and a brand. So I think because there's so many beauty artists, and you know, this could be everywhere, but because I'm in Utah, I'm kind of going to refer this or reference this in a Utah aspect. But yeah, because there's like so many people, I have artists come to me that are like charging $35 for a lamination or whatever. And it's because they see other person charging X amount of dollars and they think, well, I'm not there, and so I'm charging this, right? And I think so many people go into the beauty industry wanting to do like a side gig, and that's great. It just depends on your goals, right? But I think they actually want to do it full time, but they're treating it as a side business. And so just teaching them how to mentally and like physically treat their side gig as an actual brand, and how to show up in that way and what that actually means, what that actually looks like in every aspect of what they're doing in the beauty industry. So I feel like that's a pretty common one, I would say.
And is such a good way to put yourself ahead of your competition, because if you really are owning the expert that you are, people are going to trust that as a client.
Totally. And it's like, okay, if you're not feeling that, if you're not feeling like the expert, you don't have to feel like the expert. You don't have to believe that you're the best person ever to walk the earth to do brows, right? But like, what are we doing to gain that confidence? And what are we doing to ensure that like everything we're doing is giving you all we've got, right? So like, I don't know, it's think it's tricky when you're so young, you know, which I'm young too. But I think these things just take practice. And like I said, it just takes altering our brain a little bit to just like, wow, I can really do whatever I want to accomplish. I just need to do the things that I say I'm going to do, you know?
Mm-hmm. Huge. And this theme comes up so much in the beauty industry because so many of us are independent and we have to rely on ourselves. Like we have to show up for ourselves and exactly like you said, do what we say we're going to do because no one else is going to do it for us.
Totally. And also figuring out what gets in the way of us doing what we say we're going to do, right? Because like it's easy to sit there and set a goal or be like, you know what, I'm going to try to get 45 clients this month or whatever your goal is. But then it's like, let's actually talk about the things that get in the way of you like doing the things that are hard to accomplish that goal. Like I think that's what's not talked about enough. And that's the part of being an entrepreneur that isn't taught enough, I think.
And do you feel like it goes back to that whole like what you're talking about in the beginning is like doing the things when it's not fun, showing up and doing the things you really don't want to do when you don't want to do it. Do you think that's kind of like where it starts?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, if you take a goal, for example, like a very common goal is like losing weight, right? Like that is, I feel like every New Year's resolution is like, I want to get more fit. I want to lose weight. I want to, you know, I feel like that's just a common one people can relate to maybe. But it's like, why do people stop going to the gym in February? And it's because you have to get up at 6 a.m. or you have to deal with the uncomfortable emotions of getting rid of food noise. Or maybe I shouldn't use fitness as an example because I'm literally in brows. But like, maybe I'll relate it in a brow sense. It's like, okay, I show up today or I wake up today and have 0 clients on my books and I've got $1,000 rent over my head. And that can be pretty debilitating, right? Like we can kind of spiral, feel pretty worthless, you know, insecure, right? And so it all starts in those moments of like, okay, what am I thinking? How is that making me feel in my body? And then how am I showing up? And how can I tweak my thoughts or choose an emotion so that I can better show up and better tackle this today, right? And that's work that's really messy. And that's like the hard part, right? So yeah, I think that's 100% where it begins is I think really just where your positioning is in your brain rather than like, oh, I'm just good at doing brows. Like being good at something will never get you far enough, right? So
it's like a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. In education, they talk about how if you grow up with a fixed mindset and being told you're so smart, and if people tell you that you're so smart growing up, then you start to not believe that you have the ability to change that. It's just innately who you are. And so, oh, you're just a smart person. That's just a dumb person.
Totally.
Compared to a growth mindset where it's you worked so hard. Good job for working so hard.
Yeah.
Like kind of acknowledging the effort more than the brains behind it so that you grow up having this idea that you have it within your control to change things, to grow and get better.
Totally. And like a thought that helps me all the time is like, this is going to be fun. Like that's what I think all the time because it relieves the pressure of like, I have to perform. It's like, no, this is like, how can I have fun today? And like, how can I bring the joy into my work? Or like, I'm looking for reasons why this is going to be successful, right? Like, I don't feel like it doesn't feel good in my body to be like, this is going to work. Like, I'm just not, I don't know. So I think those like baby steps of like, I'm looking for reasons why I'm the best brow artist in Utah. Like, I'm looking for reasons why like I'm the best person to do this job, right? And so you can train your brain to look for those reasons and then it's kind of a snowball effect from there. So
I keep seeing this maybe just phrase on social media that's like, if you can overthink the negative stuff, you can also overthink the positive stuff.
I love that. Yeah. So
and
true.
That's a great reminder to me too. I love that. Just look for reasons it is going to work out, reasons that it's going to be successful and how you can just enjoy the process instead of waiting for that success to show up later.
Totally. There's another quote that I've been seeing around. It's like, you can either do it, I don't remember the word that they use, but they're like, you can either do it stressed or you can do it like happy or whatever, kind of like the opposite emotions. And it's true. Like I remember waking up, it was actually in my sales years and they had just shipped us to New Jersey, our entire company. And they had the managers basically like test this new market and everyone was losing money. Like the solar industry was kind of tanking at that point in California. And so just really stressful. And I remember waking up our first day in New Jersey, like I'm like, okay, I've got a team of 20 kids that have already lost $4,000. Like, that already don't have money to lose. And like, we just have to go figure out this market that hasn't proven to be successful anyways. And I remember like spiraling into the big, almost like a panic attack of just like, I feel so anxious and just sitting there and just spiraling. And it was amazing because I was like, okay, like I have to do this day regardless. And this is coming from someone that does struggle with a lot of anxiety. I think it pushes me to act because I'm like, if I can do something about it, like I can get rid of my anxiety, right? But I just remember sitting there like, okay, I can either do this so freaking stressed and anxious, or I can say, I'm gonna have fun today. And like, it was crazy. Just the emotions in my body just were able to like kind of get out of that. And I know it's not always that simple, right? But it was just a good reminder to me of like, this day could have been completely different and it's way better. I still have to do the same crap and I still got to knock 100 doors today, but I have way better energy. And I feel like just the outcome of the day and the outcome of the season was way different just because of the small decisions I made every day. So
no, that's really powerful. Just reminding us all that we have more control over stuff than we think we do.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to talk about your school that you're opening up.
Let's do it.
When did this all start for you?
Oh.
When did you have the idea? How did it get started?
Yeah, so honestly, like I said, when I opened up the lounge, it was supposed to be primarily like I take clients, I hire an assistant to take clients with me, and then I use it for like a major education space. That was the original goal. And then I ended up hiring out. And so it was like, okay, well, now what do we do here? And me and my husband were kind of scheming. We're always talking business or just trying to figure out how to, just like progress, I guess. And I was like, well, I could start taking apprentices. We kind of do that because I felt very passionate about educating. And we were kind of just like looking into everything. And we were like, well, why don't we just like, we're kind of looking into schooling. And we had heard the word on the street was that they were announcing the new brow and lash license. But it hadn't been released yet. So this was back like probably May, like literally right when I opened the lounge. And so we we're kind of just like talking about it and like how I could take as many apprentices as I could, but you're very limited when it comes to apprentices. And so we're like, that would be so cool if this brow and lash license is actually passed. Like that would be such a good opportunity for us to, one, make a difference in the industry, and two, just take advantage of the policy change. And so once it was passed, I actually went, there was a beauty school that asked me to come do a brow demo because they had actually integrated the brow and lash license because they were already an accredited school. And so they had me come do a demo, and I was doing this demo and I was kind of like picking the instructor's brain and I was kind of picking the student's brain. And I was like, these poor girls aren't learning anything. And I don't blame it on the instructor because she was just hired to do a job and the license had just been released. There wasn't much guidance. There's still not a lot of information. But I was just like, these girls are paying $3,000 and not learning anything. Like they aren't going to touch a brow after this. And I had a couple students, or not students, but girls reach out to me on Instagram asking if I licensed at the time. And I had to tell them no, because I didn't. And so I would send them elsewhere. And the negative feedback that I got was just terrible of just like, I learned how to pass my state boards, but I literally couldn't even tell you how to actually do a lamination. And I'm like, that is just so sad. Like, I don't know. We just decided last summer, we're like, okay, like this is something we're going to do. And we started looking at places. And as we started looking at places, we got more and more serious about it. And it's kind of snowballed from there. So, yeah.
I'm so excited about this because I don't know I'm not like, deep into brows and lashes or anything, but I don't know of schools that specialize in brows and lashes anywhere around here. I don't, if there are, I don't know where they are.
Oh yeah, I know there's like the accredited schools, like the big ones that you always hear of. They have the program integrated and they're allowed to because they're already accredited, but we'll be the first specialized school in the state of Utah. So,
huge.
Yeah, it'll be awesome.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited for you.
Thanks.
Where are you guys going to be located?
Orem, Utah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What has sort of the process looked like for you since last year when you decided to open a school?
Honestly, like the weeds of everything is what's taken the longest. Like I'm super excited to like get the space like decorated. That sounds so much fun. But we've had to just like finding a space was one so hard. Like you're just touring so many places. They're either like too old, not fit. You're going to have to go through so many permitting things. Like meeting with the city. Like, I've just had so many hours of meetings and like hopping from person to person to get information because it's such a new license that nobody really knows what they're doing. And it's not really set up in the way that it needs to. Sorry, I keep hitting your microphone.
You're good.
But yeah, so that's kind of what it's looked like, is just going through real estate agents and nailing down a place and trying to work with Doppel's timings so that you don't sign a lease too early or too late, or, you know, it's just kind of in that. And then like getting instructors ready and prepared, and we had to create a curriculum. So like writing a 270-hour curriculum, like that's taken a lot of my time. So kind of like the back end stuff that just takes a ton of time and like working through because it's never been done before. So you're kind of creating it from scratch, which just takes more time than it would if you're just like, oh, we're going to open the 1,000th, you know, esthetician school that there already has been one. It's like, no, this has never been done before. So we're just doing everything from scratch.
This all sounds so exciting. And I'm curious because you just mentioned 270 hours. Is that the total hours for being licensed for brows and lashes?
Yes. Yeah.
That's not that many.
No, it's not.
So you'll be able to get students through your program pretty quickly.
Yeah. So that's kind of the balance we're trying to have is, and this is the feedback I get from a lot of girls, no matter where you get licensed or what you get licensed in, you don't learn a lot, right? And now being on the educator side of things, I'm like, well, yeah, because they make you learn so much stuff that I don't want to say doesn't matter, but like it's just to pass the state boards, right? And they fill a lot of the hour requirements with that stuff, and it doesn't leave a lot of time for technique, right? And so the goal for our school is like, how can we do both? How can we have you feel confident for your state boards, but how can we actually have you leaving here saying, I'm ready to take a clientele, and I feel confident that I know the systems to move forward with confidence, right? Because that's kind of, I think, the gap we see in the industry is people leaving school not knowing what they're doing and have to go pay for continued education, which you're always going to have to do that. And I recommend people always keep learning, but like you should for sure be able to create a pretty eyebrow. So
At the very least.
Once
you've graduated.
Right? Yeah. So
yeah. When will you start accepting like applications, or are you already for enrollment?
April. So within the next week or so, we'll be starting a wait list and going from there. So
exciting.
Yeah.
I'm so stoked for you. I am just like so passionate about education
Me
in
too.
the industry. And so I'm excited for what you're doing.
Thanks.
Where can everybody find you and follow along with you and get updates on your school and everything like that?
Yeah. So you can follow me, Lala Brows. And then our school page is academy.lala. And then if you want to follow along with me and the girls, you can follow the Lala Brow Lounge, which is just that on Instagram. So lots of Lalas.
Awesome. Yeah, Lala. Where does the Lala come from?
It was so dumb. There's really no purpose or like intention behind it. It was before I had clients and I was like setting up Square or something, and it asked for a business name and it wouldn't let me skip it. And I was like, well, like if this lasts me 2 years, like I can't just put something, like I have to think about this for a second. And one of my good friends, she was like, well, like you're doing lashes and laminations. Like the start of that is Lala.
Yeah.
And so I was like, sure, that's kind of cool. Like, and it, you know, it's different. So we just ran with it.
I like it. I like it. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Beauty Connective podcast. If you're a beauty professional who wants to help us revolutionize the beauty industry and make it easier for clients to find you and for you to find clients, create your profile today at thebeautyconnective.com.